Hello, good day. My name is MOHAMAD IZWAN. I'm together with my group members, which is AHMAD, FIRDAUS, and LUTFIL HADI. Today we will be presenting our case study about high GPS students are always good leader. So to start off, when we talk about academic success, most people immediately think of GPA and GMAT scores. These are commonly used to measure how well a student performs, especially in MBA programs. But the thing is, these measures mainly focus on knowledge and cognitive ability. They don't really capture how someone interacts with others or handle real life situations. In reality, leadership requires more than just intelligence. It also involves emotional and social skills. That's where emotional intelligence or EQ comes in, which includes things like self-awareness, emotional control, and communication. So this study is basically trying to see how EQ actually relates to leadership effectiveness. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, moving on to the problem statement. Even though GPA and GMAT widely used, they may not fully reflect someone's ability to lead. Because if we think about it, leadership is not just about getting good grades. It's also about how well you manage your emotion and work with other people. So this brings up an important question. Are academic scores really enough to measure success? Or could emotional intelligence actually be a better indicator when it comes to leadership?
So our objective for today is to examine the relationship between EQ, GPA, and GMAT scores in predicting student success. Second, to evaluate how well traditional academic indicators reflect leadership behaviors. And then, to determine whether emotional intelligence plays a more significant role in leadership effectiveness compared to cognitive or academic measures. And finally, to identify which factors, which is EQ, GPA, and GMAT, are the most relevant for real-world performance and career success.
Thank you. Now, for the case description, part 1, this study looks at the relationship between GPA, GMAT, emotional intelligence, and leadership behavior among MBA students. It was carried out in a part-time MBA program in Pennsylvania involving 21 students with an average age of around 27. All of them had taken the GMAT before entering the program. So basically, the researchers want to compare these different factors and see which one is more useful in predicting leadership effectiveness, whether it's traditional academic measures or emotional intelligence.
Thank you, Izwan. So now let me continue for case description part 2. So in this study, several key variables were measured to analyze their relationship, which is GPA, which is to represent academic achievement, GMAT, which is representing the cognitive ability, the EQ, which is measured using the SKU assessment, and the LPI, leadership practices inventory, which is the measurement for leadership behaviors. So the researchers use correlation analysis to examine how these variables are related. Leadership behaviors were evaluated based on 5 key practices, including inspiring vision, teamwork, and encouraging others. So the main aim of collecting this data was to determine which factor, which is academic performance or emotional intelligence, is the most effective in predicting leadership competence and real-world success.
For the first analysis, the findings show that leadership effectiveness is closely related to certain emotional intelligence skills. For example, skills like empathy, adaptability, and the ability to manage relationships play a big role. Students with higher EQ tend to communicate more effectively and are better at motivating others. So this suggests that leadership is not just about being smart academically, but more about how well a person understands and manage emotions in real situation. So I shall pass the speaker to the next person.
So now we are at our second point of our analysis. So one key finding is that GMAT scores showed no significant relationship with leadership behaviors or emotional intelligence. So this suggests that cognitive ability alone is not a strong predictor of leadership effectiveness. Additionally, GPA also had limited or even negative relationship with leadership behaviors. For example, undergraduate GPA was negatively correlated with leadership aspects, such as model the way and enable others to act. So this indicates that students who perform well academically may not necessarily demonstrate strong leadership skills. So overall, this analysis challenges the traditional assumption that academic success directly translates into professional or leadership success. Now, continuing from our point two, so in contrast, EQ showed strong positive relationship with leadership behaviors because students with higher EQ are more likely to demonstrate effectiveness leadership traits such as inspiring a shared vision, coaching and mentoring others, and encouraging and motivating team members. So this suggests that emotional intelligence plays a crucial role in leadership because it involves skills like empathy, adaptability, and social awareness. So these abilities help individuals manage relationships and respond effectively in social and professional environments. Therefore, the finding indicates that EQ is a better predictor of leadership success than GPA or GMAT, especially in real world and organizational contexts.
So now, let's look at some of our alternative solutions. So our first solution is to include emotional intelligence training programs. University can organize workshops that teach communication skills, teamwork, and emotional control. This helps students improve leadership abilities beyond academic learning. So let's move to our second solution. So our second solution is to use leadership activities as part of students' assessment. Students can participate in group projects, clubs, or leadership programs where their teamwork and leadership behavior can be observed and evaluated. So, let's move to our last solution. Our last solution is to combine both academic and emotional intelligent evaluation. So instead of relying only on GPA, institution can also use EQ assessment, uh, which is to select students leaders so they can create a more balanced evaluation system in students life in daily life of students. So among these solutions, our recommended solution is to combine academic achievement with emotional intelligent development. This means universities should continue focusing on academic excellence while also providing EQ training, leadership simulations, and teamwork activities. So, by this, students can also be evaluated using both GPA and EQ indicators. So, this approach will help students develop knowledge, leadership, behavior, and social skills at the same time. So this is our last part for our video. So to conclude, GPA and GMAT are important because they measure academic and cognitive ability, but they do not fully reflect leadership effectiveness. The findings show that emotional intelligence has a stronger relationship with leadership behaviors, such as um, communications, teamwork, and motivating others. This means that having a high GPA alone does not always make someone a good leader. Therefore, educational institutions should focus not only on academic performance but also on developing emotional intelligence and leadership skills. So, by combining both academic success and EQ, students will be better prepared to become more effective leaders in a real world situations. So that is all from our group. Thank you.